That decision led me to the day that I woke up looking for my car and it wasn't there. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this crazy thing called life on my channel. And today I'm going to tell you the story of how my car was repossessed. And before I tell you this story, because this is quite a vulnerable moment for me, there are only two people in this world, as of right now, who know that my car was repossessed. But now I guess hopefully only two people will watch this video, and that will make it just four people in the whole wide world. And that would be fine with me, really. Really, that would be fine with me. But if you are part of the two people who are going to watch this video on the internet, please subscribe. Please subscribe so that I know that my secret is safe. I'm not asking you for blood, but I'm going to ask you to subscribe before you continue watching this video. Go ahead. I'll wait. Okay, so let's move on. Let me tell you about the story. This is how my car got repossessed and how making a series of bad financial decisions get me to that point. I live in Houston, Texas. And if you know anything about Houston, Texas, if you live in Houston, if you've ever been to Houston, you know that public transportation in Houston, Texas is trash. Basically trash, really. No, it is. It is. It is. It's trash. And I lived here, I was here going to college in Houston, and I did not have a car. For a long time, the first couple of years, I took the metro, that is the bus. And the bus here in Houston does not go everywhere. It has a very short, very small system, and it doesn't go everywhere. Oh, it's about to rain. But I was taking the bus. It was one line, and I'm going to be very specific for those who know. I lived on Bissonnette. I don't live on Bissonnette no more. But at the time, I lived on Bissonnette, and I was taking the bus from my house, Bissonnette, all the way to Central Campus. Bissonnette was my street, okay? I knew that street by heart. And the first few years of college, it was fine. I didn't really need to go anywhere else. But eventually, I was in nursing school. Eventually, I got into nursing school, and I was going to now go to other campuses. I was going to go to other campuses. I was going to have to go to work at the hospital for my clinicals. I needed to be able to move around. So, because of that, I decided to get a car. And I don't think that at that point I made a bad decision. I think it was a necessary thing to do. So I went to the dealership, and maybe that was the first mistake that I made. I show up there for the first time. I had never been to a dealership in my life, and I was there. And when you see hmm, 20, 21, 22-year old showing up, and she has absolutely no idea about cars and she wants to buy a car, what do? When you are a despicable person, you take advantage. And that's exactly what happened. At the time, I had a job. I had a part-time job. I wasn't making a lot of money, but I told myself that if I bought something that was not too expensive but reliable enough, I could pay for it. I didn't really understand the whole process thing, and I even had no clue what, a credit score was. Like, I knew nothing. I just walked into the dealership and I said to the man, who seemed to be a very nice man. He seemed to be like, he kept talking about his daughter and how he had just, bought a car for his daughter, and that he was going to help me, like I'm his daughter. And he seemed very trustworthy, and he seemed really friendly and nice. And I believe that he was going to look out for me. Well, He talked me into buying a $21,000 car. It was not a brand new car. It has very little mileage, but it was not a brand new car. I left the place with a $21,000 car at 11% interest. So, to say the least, I was pretty screwed. And the way that it was presented to me when I was at the dealership, I don't know what magic, what voodoo sort of things that they did, but the the cost, the monthly cost that they showed me seemed to be doable. It was not more than what I was earning as a student working part time. It was not. So I felt like I could handle the cost of the whole thing. When you are under 25, insurance is very expensive. Insurance is very expensive. And then because of, I guess, the kind of car that I had to pay a lot more as well. So when you add the monthly payments plus the insurance, plus the maintenance, plus gas, plus everything else that comes with a car, I actually wasn't able to afford. I couldn't afford the car. I couldn't afford the car. And somehow, because I was absolutely clueless, this was also my first loan. So it's just the whole thing was just a concoction for disaster, for disaster. The following month, when the first payment came and I had to pay, and then insurance and the whole thing, that's when I realized that this was not something that I was going to be able to do. It took all of the money that I was making working part time, money that was already used and needed to pay other bills. So I went to work and I asked them to give me more hours to to pay for to be able to pay for the car. I didn't tell them that, but I say, hey, is there any way you can give me more hours because I need to make more money? And so they gave me more hours. I was not working 40 hours a week. I was not being paid time and a half. I was just working more hours, and it still wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. So I started taking some money from other things. This month I pay this bill, and next month I won't pay the bill. And I just kind of taking money here and there to be able to cover the cost of the car. And the way that I justify it was that I needed the car in order to go to college. I needed a car in order to get a degree. I needed a car in order to go to clinicals, in order to go to all the different campuses that I had to go to, and that it was a necessary evil. That it was a necessary evil. I was able to keep the car for about a year and a half. For about a year and a half, I was able to keep the car. I was able to pay for the car for a year. A little, yeah, exactly a year. I was able to pay the car, and it was very, very difficult. It was very, very difficult to come up with the money every month, and it was very stressful to come up with the money every month. And there wasn't much I could do, especially in terms of earning more money so that I could cover what the car cost. There wasn't anything that I can do more. I couldn't work more hours than I was already working, because I had to work at the hospital for clinicals. I had to, work at school. I had to also practice at school. I had to study. I had so many things to do. So finding more hours, and even having to worry about making the car payments was just too much. And at some point, again, I made another bad decision, which was to just stop paying. I had no money. I had no money. It's not like I had the money and decided that I wasn't going to pay. Is that I had no money. I had no money. In fact, I had no money for school. I had no money for anything. I went to school and I say, "Hey, I'm having some financial difficulties. Can you let me finish, please? And they worked some form of payment plan with me so that I would be able to finish school. And then with that, since that had worked, I called the company, the car company, and I said, hey, is there a way you can work some form of payments plan with me? And they say, well, next month you can skip next month payment if you really need that. And I said, oh great, I didn't know I could skip. I was skipping one here and I was skipping another one here and I was skipping another one there until we got to a year. And then they were like, okay, you can't skip anymore, you owe us a lot of money and you got to pay. And that's when I decided to stop. Just my brain couldn't handle more. And I just kind of thought, you know what, let's just put this car payment on the side because graduation is coming. You have your final exam coming up, and then you've got graduation coming up, and then you have your licensing exam coming up. So let's just put all of that to the side and focus on graduating, because once you graduate, you will have a job. And once you have a job, then you will be able to pay what you owe and keep making payments on your car. And so for, I want to say about 5 months, I did not I did not make any payments towards my car. And I did not understand just how bad it was for my credit. For those who remember, maybe you were already alive, hopefully. And if you remember, I graduated in 2009. Do you remember how the economy was in 2009? I graduated in the middle of one of the worst economic, financial crisis ever. That's when I graduated. Nobody could get a job. Nobody could get a job. People were just abandoning ship. They were abandoning their houses and their cars and their things, just throwing them out on the street. And let's just, who deals with it? I don't know. That's when I graduated. So finding a job was extremely difficult. But in the midst of all of that, I had a job. I had a job as soon as I graduated. I had a job. And when I got the job, the first month, all of the money that I earned, I give it to the school. So let me explain how it works. First, you have to finish school. When you finish school, you get the green light from the school. Basically, the school tells the state that you finished the program and that you are ready to take the NCLEX, that is the licensing exam that will allow you to be officially a nurse and that will allow you to work as a nurse. So when you finish school, you need that green light in order to take the test, the exam. When you get a job, I don't know how it is right now, but back then, we're talking 2009. When you get a job as a new graduate, usually the hospital will say, hey, you have 3 months to take your licensing exam and bring us the proof that you have passed and that you are officially a nurse. We're going to hire you now because we know you finished school. We're going to hire you now, but we're giving you 3 months to take your exam. And on the other hand, you also have the school, and the school is saying, hey, we have to tell the state that you're ready to take the exam. But until you pay us and you pay us in full, we are not telling the state nothing. Okay? So until you finish paying us, you can't go take the exam. So that's kind of the position that I was in. I had finished school, but I had finished school, I had a job, and I had 3 months to take the exam and pass the exam in order to keep my job. And at the same time, I had to pay the school. Within those 3 months, I had to pay the school so they could clear me to go take the exam. I hope this makes sense. So I was kind of in that situation. It had already been a few months since I stopped making the car payments. And I had this job. all the money that I made was going towards the school because I needed to finish that payment. I needed to finish that payment. I had 3 months to finish that payment so that they could clear me and I could go take the NCLEX. It was a headache. And I was anxious even more because the car company, man, they were calling me. They were calling me all the time. They were calling me every day. They were calling me 10 times a day. They were calling me so much that I was getting anxious just like looking at my phone. And those decisions are what led me to that day when I woke up. I looked outside and my car wasn't there. My car was gone. I looked to the left. I looked to the right. There was no car. I went into the parking lot and I looked again. I went all, like around, and I just kind of looked around and there was no car. And I thought, well, I've been kind of tired lately and maybe I don't really remember where I left my car. Maybe I didn't park my car right there, but I knew I had parked my car just right there, like in front of my apartment, in front of the door. In front of the door is where I had parked my car. But somehow I don't know, I told myself that, well, maybe you park somewhere else. And so I walked through the entire apartment complex looking for my car, fully knowing that it wasn't there. It wasn't there. It wasn't there. It wasn't there. But I still went around looking for my car and I didn't see my car. I went to the leasing office and I asked there, hey, um, I can't find my car. Have you seen my car? And one guy was there and he was like, oh girl, they towed your car like 2 hours ago. They towed your car. I was like, oh my God. It's like I was starting to get worried that this was going to happen, that sooner or later they were gonna come for my car. And I kept just praying that they were not, because I just really needed the car to this is Houston, Texas. Like, I can't go to work. I can't get to work without the car. And this is before Uber. I called the car company and she says, yes, I can see it here. Yes, we did in fact repossess your car. And if you want your car back, you will have to pay us $20,000 in cash. And I said, 20,000? But I bought the car for $21,000 a year and a half ago. How are we 17 months later and I owe you $20,000? And she's like, well, ma'am, there's the interest and, you're paying the interest, but you still owe us this much amount of money. And I'm like, man, 20,000. She's like, yes, in cash. She's like, yeah. And then I was like, well, you know what? I They can keep the car. They can keep the car. They can keep it. They can keep it. And I hung up, and yeah, that's the story of how my credit score crashed to negative 247. And it took me many years, many years to get back on my feet. The lesson that I learned here is that being financially uninformed or financially illiterate is never a good idea. It will never serve me well. It will never help me. It will never help anyone, because there are people who are aware of how the system works, like the person who sold me the car at the dealership, like the person who that I got on the phone and who told me that I owe $20,000. There are people who understand how the system works. And unfortunately, sometimes many of those of them are not out there to help. They are also out there to make a living. That's how they make a living as well. and they're not out there to help. So the only person who can protect myself, who can help myself, who can help me, who can it's me. It's me. And I have to be informed. Unfortunately, there was a time in my life when I was in my 20s, my early 20s especially. I was not aware of a lot of things. I was not aware of a lot of things when it comes to finance. When it comes to finance, and I didn't even know what a credit score was and how important a credit score is. I didn't know that when you are under 25, car insurance is a lot more expensive. I didn't know that when you buy a car that's considered brand new car, you have to have, full coverage with your insurance. I didn't know um, that the person who's at the dealership is not your friend, no matter how friendly that person seems. It's not your friend, and they're looking out for their own interest. I didn't know that when you go shopping, whether it is for a car or even food, when you go to the grocery store, go with a plan. Don't just go and see what happens, what you're going to like. Some people, very few people, have that luxury in life, but I am not one of those people. And I feel like maybe you as well, you are not one of those people who can just go to the store and buy whatever they want without looking at prices, because that's what they feel like it. They feel like eating that, they feel like buying this car. I'm not in that situation, and I have never been in that situation. And there were a lot of things that I wasn't aware of. And when you are that unaware, life is gonna take advantage of you. People, not life, but yeah, life is gonna be hard because people are going to take advantage of you. It was not their responsibility to educate me. It was my job, my responsibility to educate myself. And at the time, I want to say I didn't know about it. I also didn't care about it, if I'm going to be honest. I can't just say that I didn't know. I also have to admit that I didn't care much about it until all these repercussions happened. And now I was stressed, and now I couldn't handle it. And now I didn't know what to do. And even in that situation, I I didn't really go and ask for help. I didn't ask. I asked for help. I asked a friend to let me borrow her car. And of course, I had to explain to her why I didn't have my car. So that's why there are only two people who know, because she knows, and another friend know. They somebody let me borrow their car, and I was able to go to work that day. In that sense, I asked for help, but I didn't ask for the right kind of help. I didn't ask to understand. I didn't ask for someone to help me understand where I went wrong and what I could do to make sure that I was never there again. That is the kind of help that I believe would have taken me further in life, that would have been more useful in life, instead of just, hey, let me borrow your car. So I think I didn't ask for the right kind of help. And because I didn't ask for the right kind of help, unfortunately, I found myself in some other crazy situations, money related, because still, even after that, I did not understand the importance of financial literacy. I think that now I have an idea of what it is. I still have quite a lot to learn. I still have a lot to learn. I'm no longer in debt, and I'm trying to keep it that way by informing myself and making the right decisions, and stopping, um, trying to stop making emotional decisions, trying to not be taken advantage of. I think that now I understand a little bit more what it is. But the purpose of this channel, that's also the purpose of this channel, is to to have you come on this journey with me. I maybe you have debts. I don't have debts anymore. So I hope that you will join me in this journey so that we can learn from each other and hopefully not make the same mistakes that I have made, or not make the same mistakes that we've made in the past, or the same mistake that other people have made.